Good morning and afternoon, everyone. Thank you for attending today's 60-minute webinar titled Patent Pending Technology to Dramatically Improve Scan and Populate. This is Greg Pope with SurePrep. Let me get the housekeeping items out of the way so that I can hand it over to Dave for the presentation. Housekeeping item number one, this is a listen-only webinar. But we do encourage questions, so if you have questions, please type them into the questions box in the GoToWebinar control panel. We'll answer as many questions as we can during the presentation. We'll try to leave some time at the end for some Q&A. If there are too many questions to get to on today's call, we will follow up with you after the session. So one way or another, all questions will be answered. Second item, if after today's webinar you'd like to learn more about SurePrep's solutions, please visit the SurePrep.com, click on the Talk to Sales button on the SurePrep website, fill out that short form, and somebody will follow up with you. Third item, we have 4 polling questions for CPE purposes today. Fourth question is going to be the very last thing that we get to, so please make sure you stay till the end for that question. Fourth and final housekeeping item, I want to thank Canon for sponsoring today's session. Today's attendees will receive a 10% scanner discount coupon code as a part of the webinar follow-up. So with the housekeeping out of the way, let me introduce David Weil, SurePrep's CEO. Dave, please take us through the agenda and demonstration.
Okay, great. Thanks, Greg. So let me start off with a quick overview of the company so that you know who SurePrep is if you're not familiar. And then we'll talk about the subject of this new patent pending technology that is really going to, I would go so far as to say revolutionize scan and populate over the next several years. But to start off, a little something about SurePrep. We were founded in 2002, so July will actually be our 16th anniversary. We have over 350 employees, and we provide these tax automation solutions, scan and populate, scan and organize, scan and verify, even full outsourcing, to CPA firms across the spectrum from Big Four to non-Big Four nationals to regional to local to boutique firms. Really, I think the best way to characterize a SurePrep client, a CPA firm client, is that they use a leverage model with their staff, meaning the partners don't prepare the returns or the taxpayers don't come in and sit across the desk from the partner and chat while the partner enters in all the data, but rather the partner gets information like documents and has some amount of time, a couple of weeks to get the return prepared. They use staff to do it. And as part of that, they also use our technology to help automate that process, both for preparation and review. We work with all the major tax softwares, so we work with your existing tax software to automate your process. Before I talk about the new patent pending technology, I think first, to understand how and why we came up with it, it is helpful to understand our existing solutions. So as I mentioned, we provide tax automation solutions to a wide spectrum of accounting firms, and we differentiate our technology compared to other solutions that are on the market in a couple ways. One of them is we provide a breadth of service levels, a big number of service levels that others don't. So for instance, others will provide scan and organize solutions or scan and populate, which is like our 1040 Scan Pro, but we go further. We are the only ones in the market that provide what is called scan and verify. So you know that with OCR'd data, OCR can make mistakes, image quality might not be good, and to have to find and correct those mistakes adds time to the process. We remove that by actually having somebody verify and correct any OCR errors. This is a very popular service amongst our clients because it removes more time from the preparation process. And obviously that's the end goal when you have the workload compression issues of tax season, is to remove as much time as possible. So SurePrep, in addition to Scan and Populate and Scan and Organize, which are our Organize and Pro products, we have Verify. We can do that verification onshore or offshore, depending on whether or not your clients sign a 7216 consent. And we have our full outsource service level where we prepare the entire return. And the difference with full outsource is that 1040 Scan, the OCR-based solutions, are meant to address what we call standard documents. That just means documents that OCR is designed to recognize, like a W-2 or a 1099 or a K-1. Documents that are not standard, maybe a handwritten document or a receipt or a settlement statement from the sale of a house, that type of thing, those would be manually input. So with our outsource service level, we take those non-standard documents and enter those as well so that you have a fully prepared return to review. And these service levels, as we call them, are available on a return-by-return basis. So typically, if you do outsource, you are never going to outsource all your returns. You might outsource 10 or 20%, and it's more like a release valve to help you get through tax season. With SurePrep, we have firms that will use the full gamut of these solutions. Some returns they might just do Organize on, some they'll do Verify if there's a lot of standard documents, and they might even use some outsource returns if they need help to get through, but they can pick on a return-by-return basis. So this wide breadth of service offerings that can be chosen on a return-by-return basis is unique to SurePrep. And the other thing that's unique is the both breadth and depth of our document coverage compared to other Scan and Populate systems. So for instance, you can see here, if we just go through the various types of documents that you receive when preparing a 1040 or 1041. We also work with 1041s, despite the name being 1040 Scan. You can see that for the standard types of source documents, we read 39 types versus 21 for the CCH products, 11, 35, etc. So more source documents. Now here's interesting, for organizer pages, we are the only company that will actually read and extract the handwritten data from organizer pages, and we even match it up against source documents so that if someone writes in the interest on the interest page and provides a 1099, we don't double it up. So we're the only ones that do that. We read so many more brokerage statements, consolidated 1099s than anyone else. But it's not just that we read so many more, as you can see in this graph, but we read more data than anyone. We are the only ones that will read detail from those statements, such as margin interest, investment fees, foreign income, as opposed to just the 1099 summary amounts on page 1. So we read all of the detail so that you don't need to go back through the statement and pick up additional data. We're the only one to read grantor letters and the only one to read state K-1s. So as you can see, 1040 Scan is not kind of an ancillary product to a tax software product like these other. In these other cases, these are tax software companies that kind of on the side have this ancillary Scan and Organize, Scan and Populate system. For us, the tax document automation is our main focus, and because of that, you can see we do so much more. Now, that is why we developed some patent-pending technology that really takes this to the next level, and that's what I'll go into now after we have a polling question.
Okay, Dave, I just launched the first polling question. Question is, what tax software do you use to prepare 1040s? First option there is for anybody that's using either CCH Access Tax, Global FX Tax, or ProSystem FX. If you use one of the other CCH products like ATX, select Other or NA. If you don't use any tax software to prepare 1040s because you don't prepare 1040s, select Other or NA. We'll leave the polling question open for about another 20 seconds or so.
It's interesting that about 40% say other or NA. That's higher than normal. Of course, a lot of CCH and UltraTax, which is normal.
Let me go ahead and close the poll.
Okay, great. All right, so let's take a look at what we're doing in terms of next generation OCR capabilities to make the use of Scan and Populate software and even Scan and Verify more efficient, more accurate. To start with, let me just give a quick background. Many of you who might already use this type of software will understand this, but let me set the background. Scan and Populate software uses OCR technology to extract data, such as the data that you see highlighted on this page. Now, sometimes the OCR software might make mistakes. It could be that it misreads a number or a character. Like in this case, you can see the $sign here was read as a 5. So that's an example. In other cases, it might not recognize a page at all. So here's an example where a page is just simply not recognized as anything. And this is especially true today when a lot of documents are coming as pictures like what you see here. Because of these potential errors, you need to verify OCR results and correct any errors. So this happens to be the SurePrep verification interface. Other tax softwares have other interfaces, but you can see that I'm basically just matching up the number that was read on the source document to the number that OCR extracted and making sure it was right, and if it's not, correcting it. You could even see that if the document was not recognized at all, you might have to enter every single number. If, let's say, there was a picture from a mobile phone, and so the quality just wasn't good. But the basic idea is that this verification process is needed. And it's really needed to handle both of the issues that I just mentioned, the issue that there might be documents that aren't recognized at all, or documents that are recognized, but some of the data is picked up with errors. So we're looking to address this in a couple ways. Number one, we're looking to remove non-standard documents from the verification process so that there are fewer documents to verify. I'll show you what that means in a moment. And second, and more important, we are eliminating the need to verify native PDFs at all, meaning we will be able to read native PDFs with 100% accuracy. And I'll go into more detail in that in just a moment. But before we do that, let's have the second polling question.
Okay, I just launched the second polling question, which is which Scan and Populate tool, which Scan and Populate solution do you currently use? In one of the previous slides that outlined the different SurePrep service levels, we were comparing our document coverage to the document coverage of ProSystem Scan, Lacert Tax Scan and Import, UltraTax Source Document Processing. So if you use one of those products or Gruntworks, let us know. If you don't use anything or you use some other one that is not on the list, select Other or None. We'll leave this open for about another 20 seconds. Dave, looks like about 75% are using Other or None.
Okay,
which is
well,
interesting.
Yep.
Let me close this poll and go back to you.
Okay, great. So let's take a look at the two new features that we're adding that are aimed at making the process of verifying OCR data more efficient. So the first is removing non-standard documents from verification. So remember that a standard document is a document that OCR pulls data from, like a W-2, and a non-standard document is one that it doesn't pull data from, like a settlement statement. Now, when a document is not recognized by OCR, It might be because either the document is non-standard. So like on the left here, this is a non-standard document, one that OCR is not built to extract data from. And so it is not going to be recognized by OCR because OCR is not designed to do that. But there could be a document like this 1099 on the right where it is a standard document, but because of the poor image quality, OCR doesn't read it. So because for any particular document that is not recognized by OCR, because we don't know if it's standard or non-standard, typically people will have to look at every unrecognized document so that if it's a standard document that just had poor quality like this, the data from that document can be input. And what we're looking to do is reduce the number of pages that a preparer would need to look through for that purpose by positively identifying non-standard documents and removing them from the verification process. So, for example, we can positively identify documents like instruction pages or K1 cover letters and supplemental pages, or organizer pages that don't have data to be input, like questionnaires or state information. There are common non-standard documents like property tax statements, settlement statements, and so on. So by removing these pages, because we know that these are pages that OCR doesn't extract data from, we can reduce the number of total pages that need to go through verification. So in this example, let's say all of these pages here are going through verification. And the ones with the green checks, these are documents identified as standard, W-2, K-1, 1099, etc. But then there's documents that were not identified at all, and for the reason I mentioned earlier, because we don't know if it wasn't identified because it's not standard, or it is standard but the image quality is bad, because we don't know that, a tax preparer needs to click through them, and when they find a standard document, enter it. Well, what we're looking to do is positively identify the majority of these non-standard documents so that we don't even send those to the verification application, and instead only the documents that we couldn't positively identify as non-standard documents go through verification, which are more likely to be standard documents that need to be input. They just were bad quality, image quality. So this first enhancement is the idea that we can take the documents that OCR doesn't recognize and cut those down by well over half so that a preparer going through an OCR verification process has fewer documents to look at. Let's go ahead and do the third polling question, and then we'll take you into our patent pending feature that is that we'll talk about next.
Okay, I just launched the third polling question, which is how many 1040 tax returns do you process annually? If you don't prepare 1040s, select NA. That was quick. 100% already voted, so we can go ahead and close this poll.
Okay. All right, great. So next we're going to talk about the patent pending functionality, which is to eliminate the need to verify at all native PDFs. First, let's talk about a trend. In the past, CPA firms received documents from their client taxpayers in the mail, right? People would mail in their shoebox the envelope with all their documents, or maybe they would bring them into the office, and you would scan those documents and you would upload them. But more and more now, people are, meaning taxpayers, are retrieving their documents online. They're going to log into their brokerage account and downloading the documents. They might even be using functionality like our what we call smart links. SurePrep has a new product called TaxCaddy. Check it out at taxcaddy.com. But this is a tool you can provide to your clients, the taxpayers, that helps automate the collection of their documents in a number of ways. One of them with what we call smart links, the ability for them to put in the credentials, the login credentials to their bank or brokerage or mortgage, payroll institutions, and the system will automatically download their tax documents the day they're available. So with this trend of people, taxpayers retrieving documents directly from their financial or payroll or mortgage institutions, it means that they're then uploading them to you, or maybe they're emailing them to you, or you're getting access to them through an application like TaxCaddy. You're no longer scanning them from paper. And that's what really the difference is between a native PDF and a scanned PDF. A scanned PDF is scanned from paper, and a native PDF was originally created as a PDF and was never scanned from paper. So there's a trend that taxpayers are more and more downloading these documents and providing you native PDFs. And what the patent pending functionality does is when you upload or submit such a native PDF, our system identifies that it's native. And if it is, then it will eliminate the need to do any validation or verification on that document so that you get 100% accuracy with zero verification time. Let's take a look at how that works. The traditional OCR process, when you have a scanned PDF, is that OCR identifies first the information that needs to be extracted, and we call that block. We call those blocks. So it identifies the blocks of information that need to be pulled out. And then, of course, it extracts the data. Now, as we've discussed before, when you're doing a traditional OCR process, errors can occur in these numbers because what OCR can do with excellent reliability is find these blocks. It can locate these blocks and know that this is box 1, box 2, etc. But what OCR cannot do with excellent reliability is know that this is a 6 versus a 5, or that this is a 3 versus an 8, or that this period is there. It might miss that decimal point. So once again, OCR can do an excellent job finding these blocks, but when it actually needs to read the data within those blocks, that's where the errors can occur. So the new patent pending process takes part of the OCR functionality, but then merges it with another functionality that we call text layer extraction. So it once again starts off, if this is a native PDF, with identifying the blocks, meaning identify the information to be extracted. But then instead of using OCR to extract that data, it actually extracts it via the text layer. Now, think about if you've ever had a native PDF and you've highlighted something on that PDF and copied it to your clipboard and pasted it in an email or something like that. You can't do that with a scanned PDF, but you can do that with a native PDF. You can actually highlight it so it looks like this and copy it to the clipboard and paste it. That's because these numbers aren't embedded in the native PDF as what we call a text layer. So what this functionality does is, after finding the blocks, after finding the data that needs to be extracted, it then sends that page and the coordinates of the block to a text extractor that extracts the text from those blocks, no different than if you highlighted it yourself and copied and pasted it. And the text layer is never wrong, meaning if I highlight this number and copy it, it's never going to read a 6 as a 5 because it's the actual text layer that's being extracted. So it's pretty interesting in that we're taking one thing that OCR does really well, which is find the information that needs to be extracted, and then with that information, we are using a text extractor to extract the data from those blocks. And what that means is, if we go back to this example, now we can have, if let's say 3 of the documents that were standard documents were also native PDFs, those native PDFs now will also be excluded from verification. So now we're down from 10 pages in verification here to 4. Just the scanned PDFs, the ones that were not native PDFs, and anything that is still not identified by OCR, but also not identified to be a non-standard document like these instruction pages and K1 cover letters and so on. So you can see here that we're really, our goal is to reduce the amount of pages that a preparer would review in the verification process, increase the accuracy, and therefore make the whole process much more efficient. That's why we think this technology will revolutionize Scan and Populate as the proportion of native PDFs to scanned PDFs increases. So, right now you get some amount of your documents in native PDF format, meaning your clients have downloaded the document from their brokerage firm and uploaded it to you or emailed it to you, or you got access to it through an application like TaxCaddy. There's some proportion, and another proportion of your documents are still scanned PDFs. But whatever that proportion is today, the amount of documents that are native PDFs will keep increasing. Right? It's not going to be the other way around. Native PDFs are the future. And as the proportion of native PDFs you get increase, the benefit of this technology will increase too. So it'll be increasingly transformative to the process as the proportion of native PDFs continues to increase. And SurePrep is just as we were on the leading edge of providing multiple service levels, as providing the biggest array of documents that we read and the amount of data we read from them, we're now on the leading edge of being able to extract data from native PDFs with 100% accuracy, so no verification is required. You can learn more about our overall solution on our website, where you can see 1040 Scan, which that's the application that incorporates this technology, that reads the data, reads the documents, extracts the data, and sends it to your tax software for 1040s or 1041s. But there's actually a complete and connected process that starts and ends with the taxpayer, where you can use the TaxCaddy application I mentioned to make it easier for your clients to gather information throughout the year and provide it to you without needing to mail it to you, without needing to email it to you, without you needing to scan and upload stuff. Have that data and documents flow right into 1040 Scan, then right into SurePrep Binder, which is our work paper system that's really aimed at creating reviewer efficiency, and then delivering the return back through TaxCaddy, including getting an e-file authorization signed, sending estimated tax payments, providing an invoice, and so on. So you can learn more about this full suite of solutions at sureprep.com. And if you click on the Talk to Sales button, you can have someone follow up with you and provide you a demo or any other information.